ever feel like?
Yeah.
Like you're just stuck on that treadmill of life,
Yeah.
just going and going and going. And you're just yearning for a little bit more balance, a little more harmony.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're diving into today with Deng Ming-Dao's Everyday Tao.
Oh, great.
Yeah, this book is all about bringing that ancient wisdom of Taoism into our modern lives.
Yeah.
And I, for one, I'm so here for it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how this book uses these simple Chinese characters as a way to help us understand these really profound concepts.
Yeah, it's like these characters. They offer us this tangible link to this ancient way of seeing the world, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
And speaking of ways of seeing the world, our journey, it kind of all begins with the image of Tao itself, which is a person running along a path.
Okay.
What resonates with you about that image?
Well, I think for me, it really evokes this sense of dynamism, this constant movement in these cycles that the ancient Taoists observed in the natural world.
The ebb and flow.
Exactly. They looked at the sun and the moon, the changing seasons, and they saw these as fundamental expressions of Tao.
It's about recognizing that.
Yeah.
We're a part of something so much larger than ourselves, right?
Right, absolutely.
Not separate from these natural rhythms. And, the book talks about this idea of following Tao.
Okay.
What does that look like in practice?
So I think it's less about rigid doctrines and more about aligning ourselves with the flow of life. It's like trusting a guide on an unfamiliar path.
Okay.
Even when the terrain gets a little rough.
Yeah.
And the book, it uses this really great analogy of following the sun.
Okay.
It talks about finding our own center, radiating our own light, becoming self-sufficient.
Wow. That idea of cultivating our own inner brilliance, that's powerful.
Yes.
And speaking of inner power, the book delves into this concept of qi, this vital energy that flows through all of life.
Right.
It's not just about qi.
Yeah.
The air that we breathe is
No, it's a much deeper energy. And the ancient Taoists believed that qi was actually the fundamental life force animating everything in the universe.
Wow.
And understanding qi was crucial to understanding Tao.
Okay.
And they actually developed practices like qigong and tai chi to cultivate and harmonize this energy within themselves.
So it's about, instead of getting lost and analyzing all these separate parts, it's about tuning into this interconnectedness, this wholeness of life.
Exactly.
But how do we take these big concepts and actually apply them to our everyday experiences?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
That's the question.
How do we actually live this?
Yeah.
And the book gets surprisingly practical about how to embody these principles in our daily lives.
I'm excited to dive in.
Me too. So one way the book explores this is through the concepts of skill and craft.
Okay.
Deng Ming-Dao argues that mastering a skill, whether it's, carpentry, calligraphy, it's not just about technical proficiency. It's a path to self-cultivation.
It makes me think about that phrase, finding flow. That feeling of being totally absorbed in an activity.
Right.
Is that kind of what he's getting at?
Absolutely. Through focused attention and dedicated practice, we start to embody the qualities of Tao in our actions. And the book highlights conduct, moderation, devotion, and perseverance as key aspects of this process.
In our fast-paced world, it's so easy to get caught up in extremes, always pushing for more, always striving for more.
Right.
But the book seems to offer a different way of being. What does moderation look like through the lens of Taoism?
Well, the book uses this really striking image of an arrow hitting the center of a target.
Okay.
And it says that moderation isn't about deprivation. It's about finding balance in all aspects of life.
Okay.
And Deng Ming-Dao, he gives the example of eating. He says it's about nourishing the body without overindulging, savoring each bite without being ruled by cravings.
Finding that sweet spot between the extremes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a principle that you can apply to so many areas of life. Another quality that really resonated with me was devotion. The book describes it with such evocative imagery. Flowers representing the cycles of life. Incense carrying our prayers.
Yeah. It's beautiful imagery.
It is.
And I think in this context, devotion is about aligning ourselves with something larger than ourselves, whether that's a spiritual practice, a creative pursuit, or even just a deep connection to nature.
Yeah.
The book tells this great story about a boxer who finds a sense of spiritual connection through the rigorous practice of his craft.
It seems like true mastery in any field,
Right.
whether it's art, athletics, Even something like parenting.
Yeah.
It requires a level of devotion that goes beyond simply wanting to be good at something.
Right. It's not just about achieving a goal. It's about the process itself, the dedication, the commitment to refining your craft.
So it's about cultivating a deep sense of purpose
Yeah.
and meaning in our actions.
Exactly.
And that inward focus you're talking about. That's also essential for developing perseverance, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The book suggests that true perseverance arises not from willpower alone, but from cultivating inner strength and resilience.
It's about tapping into that wellspring of strength that resides within each of us.
And that resilience is crucial because, let's face it, life isn't always smooth sailing.
That's for sure.
There's a whole section on disaster that really struck me.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes, despite our best efforts, challenges and setbacks are inevitable.
It's part of the human experience.
So how do we find that resilience, that inner strength to weather life's storms?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
The book touches on the idea of fate,
Okay.
which can be a difficult concept to grapple with.
It can feel like a heavy concept.
Right. It can feel like something that's completely outside of our control.
Exactly. It's interesting how the book presents fate, though.
Yeah.
It's not about just like being resigned to some predetermined path.
Right. It's not about saying, oh, well, this is going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Deng Ming-Dao, he suggests that fate is more like this dynamic interplay between our choices and the circumstances that we encounter. It's kind of like navigating a river. We can't control the current, but we can learn to steer our boat, adjust our course as needed.
So it's about recognizing our agency within the larger flow of life.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about taking responsibility for our actions while also accepting that.
Right.
We can't control everything.
And that acceptance can actually lead to a greater sense of peace and freedom.
Exactly.
It's kind of cool.
That's a paradox, but it's true.
It is kind of paradoxical. That makes me think about that image that we started with of the person running along the path. It's not about forcing our will on the world.
Right.
It's about moving in harmony with the way things are.
Finding that flow.
Adapting and evolving as we go.
Exactly.
And that's the essence of living in accordance with Tao.
I think so.
It's about cultivating inner strength and resilience, finding balance in all areas of life, and approaching each moment with a sense of presence and purpose.
It's about living with intention.
I love that. This deep dive into everyday Tao has given me so much to think about. It's a reminder that true wisdom often lies in simplicity.
Yes.
In finding the extraordinary within the ordinary.
And that these ancient principles, they still have so much relevance to our modern lives. They offer guidance, inspiration for how to navigate all the complexities of the 21st century.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we kind of wrap up here, I keep coming back to this idea that maybe the key to unlocking a more balanced, harmonious life, it's not about searching for something outside ourselves, but it's about cultivating a deeper awareness of what's already present within us and in the world around us.
I think that's a beautiful thought to end on.
Maybe just like those ancient Taoists, we can find wisdom in observing the cycles of nature, the rhythm of our breath, the simple act of savoring a cup of tea.
It's about finding the extraordinary in the everyday.
Yeah, the path of Tao, it seems. It's a journey of continuous discovery.
Always learning, always growing.
And that journey, it begins with a single step.
One step at a time.
Well said.
Thank you.
Until next time, everybody.